Hi, friends and family. Welcome to another episode of Awaken and Align. And I'm so excited to be bringing this to you on November 23rd, the new moon in Sagittarius. It's a very auspicious and hopeful and lucky new moon. But before I get into it, I'm just going to light this piece of sandalwood that I got from one of my students to cleanse the energy. And it takes a little bit of time. So while I'm doing that, I just wanted to make a few announcements. As always, each episode has a video version on my YouTube channel. And today, which is the 23rd of November, we are starting the witching hour. If you want to learn more about the witching hour, episode 177, I speak with Stephanie Campos, who is my partner in this project. We are starting a show. Every week, we are going to bring you magic, astrology, and we're going to talk about how these celestial bodies impact our human experiences here on Earth and make meaning of our experience here. And it's injected with some fun because we're both fire signs, double fire signs. We're going to bring in celebrity charts and we're going to talk about the cultural zeitgeist. And really, it's just an opportunity for us to have more fun and to learn about astrology and magic in a deeper way with a curated group of witches. And what else? It's via Patreon. So you pay $20 per month. You get 4 shows per week. And the benefit of being a member is that you have access to the live streams. And if you cannot join the live streams, you get the replay. And we're only going to post certain episodes on our YouTube channel for free. So it really does benefit you because you also get the live Q&A that will be answering questions. You get access to our community and offerings and giveaways that we do every month. And also you get entered every month automatically by being a member for a free 1-hour session with me and Stephanie. So the $20 gets you a lot. And yeah, it's just an exciting thing, an exciting project that I get to do with a fellow witch. And again, if you want to learn more about that, you can listen to episode or watch episode 177 on the witching hour. So now that I'm cleansing the energy, I really wanted to do this episode for you as a Sagittarius rising myself. I feel after a season of eclipses and Scorpio season of going into our personal underworld, doing our shadow work, meeting our fears, limiting beliefs, maybe addressing some trauma that we've experienced. And it was an emotional time because Scorpio is a fixed water sign. It is very triggering sometimes to go into those places in the deep recesses of our unconscious. And I'm sure the Scorpio solar eclipse and the Taurus lunar eclipse triggered some things, some aha moments, maybe breaking away from certain things, and really recognizing the places in your life that you need to start taking the action steps to move away from certain things or break away. I'm saying break away because Scorpio is ruled by Mars. And this has been something that you've been dealing with for the past year since the eclipse seasons of 2021. So nothing new, but now these are the last eclipses of 2022 before we head into, the last 2 months, well, a month and a half of 2022 before we head into 2023. And if you heard the episode about October and how that was the catalyst for a lot of change that's going to come in the next 6 months, you know what I said about this time in between now and March, that a lot of change is going to happen, and change that is going to be catalyzed by you and how you make decisions. And I really do believe it's an auspicious time because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Sagittarius is the daytime expression of Jupiter, it's the yang expression. So, Sagittarius archetypes are the visionary, the philosopher, the teacher, the explorer, the archetype that travels to foreign lands to learn new things. The nocturnal expression of Jupiter is Pisces, which Jupiter is right now. And the nocturnal feminine yin expression in Pisces is all about internal expansion. And I've heard a lot of astrologers and people say that they've been a little disappointed with Jupiter in Pisces because, I think as a more masculine, um, productivity driven society, we're used to Sagittarian things, right? Like getting after things and doing versus the more yin expression of Jupiter in Pisces, which is about internal expansion. And so, for example, Jupiter in Pisces is very strong. It's in a mutable water sign. And in my fourth house, some expressions of that I've heard have been moving homes, expanding the home. It could be expanding the family and buying a new home or renovating the new home. But I've experienced it more as really feeling rooted in myself because the fourth house is the deepest and sensitive part of your chart. And it's been more of an internal expansion of going inward, especially since Jupiter was retrograde and reflection. And really, now that it's coming out and going direct at the time of this new moon, it's been really this beautiful internal expansion of reigniting my faith and belief in myself. So, wherever you have Pisces in your chart right now, is getting that internal expansion and having that renewed sense of belief in your dreams and faith in yourself. And what I love about this new moon in Sagittarius, the moon and sun are at 1 degrees, and one is the number of initiation. It is the number of self. It's very personal. So this is like a renewed sense of faith and belief in yourself and your own dreams. And I feel like we need that. We need that renewed sense of hope and help after a season of really been rocked by, our internal dialogue that might have been calcified, that hasn't been serving us, breaking away from toxic patterns and toxic relationships, our own fear of scarcity and lack. And I say that about, the lunar eclipse in Taurus and Scorpio, because that axis talks a lot about money and safety, abundance, lack, and our deepest, darkest fears and having to face that. And I think a lot about challenges and obstacles in our life are initiations into having us reawaken to our own innate talents and abilities and how we can call upon our own innate talents and abilities in times of challenge when we don't have outside resources. And so during this Jupiter retrograde, because Jupiter is the greater benefic, it is the planet of expansion and abundance and growth. With that in retrograde, it wasn't exactly outwardly giving us abundance and giving us opportunities. It was more reflective. It was more, we had to rely on our own internal resources, our own spirituality, because Sagittarius and Pisces are both very spiritual signs. And I know I'm jumping all over the place because right now, Mercury is in Sagittarius, which is in its said detriment because Mercury has its domicile and exaltation in Gemini and Virgo. If you don't know anything about what I'm saying, that's a great opportunity to join our witching hour because we explain all of these astrological terms to help you better understand your own chart and also the transits. But simplified here, when Mercury is in Sagittarius, doesn't have all of its gifts and talents. And so Mercury in Sagittarius is like very blunt, it's very all over the place, it's very scattered, and also speaking with a level of bluntness and fieriness, which is probably what I'm channeling right now. I'm like a wildfire going all over the place. But Christopher Renstrom, who is an astrologer that I really admire and I listen to, said about Jupiter signs. So Jupiter being in its domicile classically in Sagittarius and Pisces. Sagittarius is the season before the winter solstice here in the northern hemisphere. It's right before Christmas, and so during this time is when we have the parties and when we have the celebrations, the holiday season, right? And then in the springtime, right before the and around like Easter time and before the equinox, we have Pisces season, which is the other Jupiterian season, and that's all about like the death and rebirth, which also is at another level, metaphorically, like Jesus dying and being reborn. So I did find that interesting when he said that, because this is the season, again, the yang expression of Jupiter, where we're going out there, we're celebrating after that very watery, deep Scorpio season. We're kind of being reborn and activating our faith again and getting out there and celebrating and rejoicing. And Jupiter is the Roman god of the Roman god that is equivalent and akin to Zeus, the Greek god. So it is this time of expansion, and yeah, Sagittarius is also the visionary. And so like when you look at the glyph and archetype of Sagittarius, it's an arrow, and it shoots its arrow into the sky, into the heart of the scorpion. And you don't necessarily know how it's all going to unfold. And I think that lends to the mutability of Sagittarius. But you shoot your shot because you have faith that whatever happens is for the highest good. And as a Sagittarius rising, I do have to say, one of the things I appreciate about myself and the things that I've learned about myself, my own natural talents and gifts, is my sense of optimism and my sense of just belief and faith that even though I don't know what's going to unfold, I have this internal compass that no matter what happens, even if it's challenging, that it's always meant for my highest good. Even if I don't understand it, and even if I complain during the journey, that I trust the path, even though I might not quite understand it. But the whole purpose of life is to enjoy the journey, and it's not about the destination. And so that's also why Sagittarius has this archetype of the traveler and explorer, because it is about learning more about yourself and expanding in that like hero's journey kind of way. If you've ever read Odysseus, or if you've ever watched Star Wars, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey is in those stories of like leaving home in search of greater meaning about oneself, and then you come into challenges and getting over those challenges and accomplishing a certain level of tests really does help you understand your own unique gifts and talents within yourself. And then you come home and you share that wisdom with everybody around you. So I love this new moon for us because at the same time of this new moon, it is trining the ruler of this new moon, which is Jupiter, and it's in its domicile of Pisces. And a trine is the most harmonious aspect in astrology. It's when the energy flows very easily. It's 120 degrees, and it's going to help you feel that sense of, oh my God, like I believe in myself, I have faith in myself. And something about being in Pisces as well, with Neptune being there, it's not quite a conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune, but Neptune is the unseen realm. There's stuff happening that you cannot see, but it allows you to dream and allows you to tap into other dimensions and realms that you might not have obviously access to in your waking conscious life. but when you just like meditate or when you're in your dream realm, you're able to access like visions and um, for the future, or just creative ideas that maybe in your waking conscious life, when you're in your left brain, you don't have access to. So I think of Mercury, specifically in Gemini and Virgo, to be more like left brain, very strategic, very analytical. And the Pisces, the Piscean expression of Jupiter and maybe Sagittarius is very right brain, listening to your intuition and a greater faith. And a few minutes after this new moon, Jupiter in Pisces will go direct. So think back to the new moon in Leo, which happened in August when we had that new moon in a fire sign. Jupiter was in Aries and it went retrograde. So before that, you were going through maybe a really abundant, a really expansive time, where you were seeing your goals, you were getting opportunities, you were moving forward in some way, and then August happened, and then some things were being pulled back. Obviously, we also had 6 other retrogrades going at the same time, and there was like this stagnancy or like standstill, and you felt like the universe pulled the plug on something. And depending on your chart ruler and things happening in your natal chart, you might have felt this to a certain degree or maybe a lot. I'm ruled by Jupiter since I'm a Sagittarius rising, and I felt it a lot. Like I felt like all of my projects that I was working on, a lot of the things that I had launched kind of came to a standstill. And that time during Jupiter retrograde was a time of reflection, was a time actually of, is this something that you really want to expand? Is this something that you really are excited about? Because Jupiter in Sagittarius is a very excitable, a very like jovial. Jove has the same root word as Jupiter. And now, as it's going forward, from 28 to 29 degrees of Pisces, it's like gaining all of that momentum because it's in its last degrees of Pisces. It's very strong. And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It speaks about endings and new beginnings. And then Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's like new, it's pioneering, it's getting after your dream. It's like a rocket. It's it's launching into some realm that you've never been into. And that happens December 20th of this year. So about a month's time from now, when Jupiter re-enters into the sign of Aries, that's when you'll really start to feel the expansion. So Jupiter is it's an outer planet that's just after Mars. So it's not as slow as Saturn, but it still takes its time, to create its energy to moving forward. So even though it's going direct at the time of this new moon, it's not going to be full on like full steam ahead until probably December 20th. And then it will really create some movement there in the cardinal fire sign of Aries. So at this new moon, and we're going to do a little ritual together at the end of this. So if you are driving or if you are walking, you can always go back to this and do this part later. But I really want to do this ritual with you because I'm, again, a Sagittarius rising. I'm Jupiter ruled, and I believe my biggest gift here is my ability to communicate, my ability to help people heal, and also have inspiration. I am an optimistic person. I can't help it. That's just my disposition. And so even though there are challenging times, I always try to remind people that everything is going to work out. Maybe not in a way that you expected, and maybe not in a way that is on your own timeline, but everything always works out. And if you look back on your own life and you've been through those really, really hard times, I'm talking like you're asking the universe, like, why me? Why me? And if you look back on those times, you see that everything had to work out in that way for you to have the lesson or the enlightenment or the awakening moment and realized your own worth. Maybe you realized like that person wasn't meant for you, that person wasn't in alignment with you. Maybe you had a toxic boss or toxic work environment. I can say from my own experience, because I like to give my own experience in these things, that anytime I've walked away from something or someone broke up with me or I had these very challenging times in my life, every single moment and every single heartbreak and challenge has led me to this moment where I can fully step into the person that I'm meant to become. And as you all know, and maybe if you're just joining me for the first time, I wrote a book, How to Manifest. And spoiler alert, manifesting to me has nothing to do with acquiring things. It is a byproduct of stepping into your own power. But manifesting for me is reawakening and remembering your own talents, your gifts, and your abilities that you were born with, that are loaded and coded within yourself. And my job here on this planet is to help you remember your true value. And that's what we did in our most recent moon circle on the lunar eclipse in Taurus, because Taurus talks about value. It's ruled by Venus. I had everybody go around and share their own unique value and their own unique gifts. And it was very uncomfortable for people because it's uncomfortable for someone to speak highly of themselves. And so we really had to lean on the group and the circle to share as somebody witnessing somebody in the circle, like their own talents and abilities that have nothing to do with money, have nothing to do with what they do for a living, but purely just on their unique talents and gifts that they bring into this world, regardless of status, regardless of how much money they make. And that, when you know that and when you can tap into that, is your true innate manifesting abilities. And when you are in alignment with that, when your thoughts, your feelings, your physical body and your actions and the way you believe about yourself and the way you have belief about yourself and your abilities, everything becomes into alignment. And then by the law of attraction, which is like attracts like, by the law of vibration, you then start to attract the things that are meant for you, the people who are meant for you, the opportunities that are meant for you. And I wrote a book about this because we weren't taught these things. We weren't taught that it's really everything is within you. The Hermetic principles of as within, so without, as above, so below. That's why I practice astrology and energy. We were taught that when you want something, you have to go out and get it. You have to do, you have to work hard, you have to, it's all external, which is a mistake. And where we are today with our overconsumption, our climate crisis, deforesting, the materialistic nature and capitalistic society that we live in, and it's just not sustainable. So we have to be more in tuned with ourselves, our true heart's desires, what we truly want. And I believe that we go off that path after we're a child because we want to assimilate in order to be validated by our parents, be accepted by our community, and sometimes we lose our way. And also to assimilate to survive, because we do need to survive within a community. I write all of this in my book, by the way, but we lose ourselves. And so we sometimes get lost in what we want, what our heart truly desires, because we're keeping up with the Joneses. And then a lot of people don't really truly know themselves. And I would ask you, because Sagittarius, and we're today officially, I'm recording this on 11/22/22. Look at those master numbers. Sagittarius is the philosopher. It asks the big questions. It zooms out and looks at the overall picture and asks these big philosophical life questions like, why am I here? What am I doing? Do I really believe this? And why do I believe this? The most powerful question you can ask is why. And why do I believe this? Why do we do this? Okay, just a very simple example is I'm very active on TikTok. I go to like TikTok University to learn things, and so many of the people that I watch have taught me more than I would say all of my years of elementary, high school, college, and master's education. I learned recently that raking leaves is actually not good for the environment, and the leaves have a concentrated amount of nutrients in them so that they can feed the soil, feed the trees throughout the wintertime. It makes so much sense. Nature already figured it out. The leaves drop on the grass, and obviously, I live in the northern hemisphere here where it's fall and all the leaves fall down. I don't know who said that we had to rake leaves. I don't know if it was like um, the neighborhood, like the neighborhood watch, or like I actually had to ask my parents, like, why do we rake the leaves? And they said it's because our neighbor would yell at us, yell at my parents for not raking the leaves in time, and so all the leaves would blow onto his lawn. And I'd be like, who the fuck cares? Like, go tell him to fuck off. But anyway, that's besides the point. These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves if we truly want to live in a sustainable, regenerative earth. Why are we raking the leaves? It's like the amount of time and resources and money and labor that people spend. It's literally like these 2 weeks in November where all you hear are the blowers and the trucks coming by collecting the leaves. And I'm just like, if we just didn't do that, then the lawns and the soil would be taken care of over the winter time. And winter is such a beautiful season because, again, going with the cycles of nature, it's just resting. It doesn't mean things are necessarily dying. It just means that we must go inward and rest our bodies for the next season, which is here in the northern hemisphere. We're going to have the solstice in December, and then we're going to move towards the spring in Aries season. And so, like, just going back to the cycles of nature and syncing ourselves with that will help from burnout and will help from us being out of alignment with ourselves. And that's also why I love astrology and why I love listening to the universal laws, because when you know the timing and cycles of things, you don't have to burn out. You can just listen to, like, oh, listen intuitively to yourself and also observe nature. Like, this is the time we need to launch. This is the time we need to like get our energy out there, and start doing things. And then also after that, we need to rest. We need to go inward. We need to be more in the receiving mode. So we just came from Scorpio season, which was a water sign, and it was an eclipse time. And that was a time of releasing, of purging, of ending things, because now it's Sagittarius season, mutable fire. It's a yang season. And now is the time to get out there and socialize and celebrate and have fun. So now is the time, if you have been maybe more in the hermit mode of Scorpio season, to do something different. And I also say that because Mars retrograde in Gemini, Gemini is the sign of the twins. It's choice. And in the tarot, Gemini is represented by the Lover's card. And so the Lover's card for me is about choice between two options. Are you going to stay with your past? And that's okay, no judgment, like the comforts of the past, but it's the known. It's something that you've repeated. Or are you going to do the other choice, which is the unknown? And it's something that is different. And it's something that maybe you've been wanting, but you've been afraid to let go of the past because there's comfort there. And in order for you to experience something differently, you have to choose something differently. You have to do something differently. You have to act differently. Mars is the planet of action, of passion, of breaking away. It is like, besides, I would say Uranus, like the ultimate planet of breaking free. And it is during this retrograde time because it's going to go direct January 12th. So you still have like a month and a half there, maybe like a little bit more than a month and a half of asking yourself, what are the things that I want to like break away from? What are the things that I'm choosing to leave in the past? And what are the things that I'm moving more towards? And Gemini also represents media. It represents contracts. It represents the other, the twins. So Mars is also a relational sign. This could be with people. Just look at where Mars and Gemini is transiting your personal natal chart, because that will give you more clues as to where you're breaking free and you're starting anew. And this is important because Mars ruled the South Node in Scorpio, and it was being activated at this time, and it's continuing to be activated because Mars and Gemini is making a square aspect to Neptune in Pisces for a long time. And this aspect can lead to conflict, argument, confusion, like not being able to make decisions, being confused about where to go. And so if you have any really big decisions to make, I would hold off until, if you can, January 12th, when Mars goes stations direct in Gemini, or at least when the square is a little bit not as exact as it is now. So maybe sometime in late December. But also, I always believe that these hard aspects are really meant for us to work with. They're not meant for us to bypass, meant for us to just hide away and put our head in the sand. This is a time to really think about what you really desire, because Mars is about our desire. Neptune in Pisces is our dreams. Okay, so I think I've spoken a lot about this new moon. I'm going to walk you through the ritual, because this new moon is a great time to set a new intention, especially with Jupiter going forward there. And working with the element of fire, which is all about spirit, it's all about your vision, it's all about bringing your life force energy into it. And then, as promised, I was going to give you a little like preview of what to expect until, I guess, 2023. So for the rest of November, we're in Sagittarius season. Jupiter is going direct. We have, as Mercury, Venus, and the Sun travel through Sagittarius and it goes into the later degrees, it is going to make an opposition to that Mars and Gemini, which is a tense aspect. So you're gonna maybe run into conflicts of arguments, and people are really going to push your buttons and trigger you, because Gemini and Sagittarius are mutable signs. So it could be a little bit chaotic, and it is definitely archetypically being manifested in what's happening with Twitter and what's happening in social media and the social cultural zeitgeist. And if you want to learn more about like what's happening with Elon Musk and Twitter and the charts of Twitter and Elon Musk, we talk a lot about that in the Witching Hour. And also the first one is actually going to be the same time that this podcast airs, which is the new moon in Sagittarius. We're going to talk about the witch archetype, because the witch archetype and the witch hunts, as coined by Silvia Federici, she's an Italian, I guess, like philosopher and speaker. She talks about how the witch hunts and witches started in feudal Europe as a way to start capitalism. And so the witches were the women of society who were entrepreneurs. They were the ones who were making their own balms and food, like kitchen witches who were healing people, who were leaders of their communities. And so in order for the patriarchy essentially to control bodily autonomy and start capitalism, they would start these witch hunts and to burn them at the stake. And in some degree that's happening still now, because obviously bodily autonomy is still, a thing that we still have to fight for, and the oppression of many marginalized groups. So this is an archetype that we've been dealing with for hundreds of years. So our first episode, we're going to talk about the witch archetype and how being a witch and reclaiming that word is actually resisting and liberating ourselves from patriarchy and capitalism. It's very empowering and very fitting for this new moon in Sagittarius, because ultimately Sagittarius for me is about freedom, and it's the ultimate free spirit sign, I have to say, as a Sagittarius rising. Then we get into December, also in the Northern Hemisphere. This is like we're moving more towards the winter solstice, and in the Southern Hemisphere, you're going to have your summer solstice, but the archetypes remain the same. And in December, Neptune in Pisces will go direct on December 3rd. Then on December 6th, Mercury will enter Capricorn. Then on the 9th, Venus will enter Capricorn. So then we start having this activation in your Capricorn house. So wherever you have Capricorn, the focus will be there. Then on, as I mentioned, on December 20th, Jupiter re-enters the sign of Aries, So we have Jupiter entering Aries and all of these personal planets entering Capricorn. They're both cardinal signs. So you might be initiating things, and you might be starting to say, okay, I'm starting to decide like what it is that I want and what I want to really start to like plant my seeds for 2023. Because then on the 21st, we have the solstice, the sun enters Capricorn. And then on the 29th, Mercury stations retrograde in Capricorn. So, also we have a full moon in Gemini on December 7th and a new moon in Capricorn on December 23rd. And what I mentioned in that episode about October being the catalyst, just to refresh our memory, is most of the planets after, I would say, January 19th are going to be going forward. So Mars will go forward January 12th. I believe Mercury will go forward after January 19th. I might have those dates mixed up. But then all of the outer planets, all of the personal planets will be going forward. And it's like an amazing time for all of the plants that you've seeded, the seeds that you have planted, to really start taking form now. And then when we move into February and then March, Mars will officially enter Cancer. So it'll be exiting Gemini finally after 7 months. Pluto will be entering Aquarius, I believe, the 23rd of March, and then Saturn will enter Pisces on March 7th. Huge moves. Like every time I talk to Stephanie about this, my co-host for the Witching Hour, we're like, this just means we're going to be different people. We're going to be acting differently. We're going to be thinking differently. We're going to be having new realities by March, which is not that far away. It's what, like 5 months from now. And so right now it's a very important time to do all of this inner work that we've recognized, we've been illuminated to the things that we need to release during eclipse season and Scorpio season. Like we are very aware of it. And now, as we're entering Sagittarius season, we're going to start making moves, making money moves. We're going to start getting out there and sharing our visions with people. We're going to start actively choosing our future timeline versus our past timeline. And this is very important now because of what's coming months from now. And so if in the last couple months we had 6 months of retrogrades, and also eclipse season is very heavy, a lot of deaths metaphorically and literally, and also the last 3 years of a panorama, and we're still going through it technically, I think, and so much destruction, so much polarity, and just a lot of upheaval and collective trauma. If you felt like, what the hell? What is the point of life? Like, what are we doing here? This is the time to remember to have faith and belief in a higher power, in the ability that, like, we came here for a reason. we're not ever given something we can't handle. And through community, we heal together and we come together. And this is the time to reactivate that sense of hope within yourself, because wow, we've really gone through like a death and rebirth in the last couple of years. I certainly have, and the people around me that I've witnessed have. And this is the time when community is so necessary. And I'm seeing it on a massive scale, like people realizing that we cannot move forward without banding together, because all of our liberation movements are tied to each other. And what better time to share your visions and your dreams with other people to help support you? Obviously, only share with people that you trust and that can hold that space for you. But I just see this time as very hopeful, very optimistic, and like I'm just really excited. And I can't hold in my Sagittarius, hopeful, optimistic side any longer. So if you are at this point now where you want to go on and do this ritual with me, this is the time. But for everybody else, thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for listening and supporting. And I hope to see you in our Witching Hour Coven. Okay, so if you are here for the ritual, I recommend lighting a candle for the fire element, because this is a fire moon. If you have local herbs to burn or clear your space, I'm using sandalwood here again. Please use something local to where you live. Or if you have herbs that are tied to your indigenous practices, you may do that now. But we're essentially just going to clear the space. And this is a very simple new moon in Sagittarius ritual that I'm going to lead you through to help reignite your visions, your passions, and your intention setting for the future. Okay, go. And if you're watching the video version, I recommend that you close your eyes now. And as always, if you don't want to receive any kind of, because I am a Reiki practitioner, you can click away from this now if you don't consent to me sending you Reiki, also with the audio version as well. But I'm going to throw up a symbol here just to open up the space and ground the space. And as I'm doing that, I want you to take a deep inhale through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. Another inhale through the nose, deep from the belly. Expanding the lungs, opening up your heart space. Exhale out through the mouth, release. Last one for grounding, inhale. Exhale, release. Keeping your eyes closed now, just feeling that expansiveness within you, feeling grounded. Okay, just breathing gently, rhythmically, feeling very grounded through your sits bones, with your spine straight. Now I want you to imagine a golden healing light above the crown of your head. And it's making its way down through your crown, massaging the thoughts, easing the mind. Now, meditation and stillness does not mean no thoughts. It's being aware of your thoughts, bringing more awareness into your body, because our greatest gift is the gift of self-awareness. Now, this light is picking up any limiting beliefs, any harmful thoughts you have about yourself, and it's creating new neural pathways in order for you to help guide your mind through making more aligned decisions from a place of love and not fear. Our crown is where we feel connected to the divine. And so now, with all of you, I call upon the divine, the Holy Spirit, our ancient ancestors, angels and archangels from the highest realms for the good of all involved. We call upon your inner child, your higher self, to guide us in this practice and to guide our lives. And we may do our part in what we can control and what we can do. And we release and we surrender to all the rest. We trust in the divine timing. And we call upon all of our guides for the highest good of ourselves to help us guide the way. And now this light is making its way towards your third eye, the point in between your eyebrows. And we're activating your intuition, your inner wisdom, your higher self, the all-knowing I, the part of you that is infinite, that has traveled through different dimensions and realms, space and time. Our ego keeps us safe. Our ego keeps us secure. So it's not about killing the ego. It's not about threatening the ego. It's just maturity of the ego, allowing the ego to work with us, calming it down, helping to soothe the ego, and allowing our higher self to guide the way, that there's really a higher plan in place that we need to trust more. And now this light is moving its way towards your throat. And this is a receiving and broadcasting station. It's directly connected to our solar plexus, our confidence. There's a meridian line that runs through our throat to our stomach, our navel point. So we're just gonna clear away any blocks that prevent you from communicating your needs, your boundaries, allowing you to communicate in general if you want to become more outspoken, if there's something that you want to share with somebody. Taurus rules the throat, so maybe some of you have had that aha moment recently. Remember to keep breathing, allowing any tension as we go through each of the energy centers. If you do feel any tension, to breathe through it, allowing more space, not judging, being gentle with ourselves. And now this light moves towards the middle of our chest, our heart, which is a portal from the part of us that is part of divinity, as we are divinity in human form, to our more physical embodiment. We are the opening for which spirit and the divine can manifest itself. So Reiki actually is a heart medicine. It is channeled through our heart. So it's gentle and unconditional love. It is part of source energy. And each of us is already attuned to love. It's the highest frequency as that humans can attune ourselves to. So it's really just about tuning ourselves into this energy, even when we forget that it's always available to us. So if you have felt maybe a little closed off, maybe you've built walls around your heart, just be gentle with yourself. It's just for protection. As Resma Menakem says, respect the protect. You protect yourself for a reason. But slowly but surely, if you are willing, I'm going to help you open it a little bit, help you expand your heart space. Another way you can do that physically is to literally open up your chest and breathe. Now this light moves towards your navel point, your solar plexus, reactivating the fire within you. This is our fire, where the fire element is ignited. Very attuned to the Sagittarian energy of remembering your confidence, your will, your strength. So I'm just adding more of that fire energy into your solar plexus to help you remember your innate power. This is a time of reclamation. Maybe you've given some of your power away. Maybe you forgot how powerful you are. Maybe you don't feel worthy of your desires. So I'm just reactivating the fire within you, burning that flame. And maybe after this ritual, you're going to feel a little flame flickering. And so your job during Sagittarius season is to just tend to the flame. Make sure that the embers are still glowing and that it's still burning. Beautiful. Now imagine this light moving down to your womb space, and everybody has a womb space, no matter the gender. It's our place of creativity where we receive versus we do. This is a place that is so magnetic. This is where we birth our creations. So we're just balancing the energies here. Maybe you feel blocked in your expression or creativity, and maybe you just need rest. Maybe you need some inspiration, a muse. So take this time to be reflective and think about that. This can be a sensitive area for many people, so be very gentle with yourself. Just be aware of what you feel here. Keep breathing. If you need more time here, you can stay here and just pause the video or the audio at this time. And now imagine this light moving down to the base of your spine, your root. And this is where we feel the most connected to Earth, Mother Earth, Gaia. and her fertility, her abundance. This is where we feel grounded and stable, rooted down, and in our own bodies. Check in here. Do you feel grounded? If not, how can you feel more grounded? Can you place your feet into the earth, touch the earth, hug a tree, eat some root vegetables, nurture and take care of yourself, go out, walk in nature? Grounding is the most important practice for us as humans so that we feel that base need of foundation and groundedness and stability. Now, as you visioned the light going from your crown all through your energy centers, through the base of your spine, just imagining that as it was traveling down your spinal column, this healing light was picking up any stagnant energies, blocks, negative energies that have been holding you back. And that now this light is moving down to earth, asking earth to transmute these energies. Thank you, Mother Earth. Imagining your personal energy center as the roots of the trees very deep in the ground, that you're tethered here to earth. And now you imagine this transmuted healing light coming back up through your root, up your spine, out of your crown, and out of your aura, creating this beautiful protective energy bubble. Imagine it now, you're protected in a beautiful golden light bubble, protecting you, shielding you. And now, as you're in this beautiful protective golden bubble, I want you to bring into your mind's eye a vision you have for yourself, an intention you want to set on this new moon in Sagittarius. And we ask Jupiter, the greater benefic, who protects Earth from space debris. Jupiter, which is about expansion, luck, growth, the teacher, the philosopher, the explorer, spiritual guru, to help us, guide us, help us in giving us signs and synchronicities of what we need to learn, what we need to be doing at this time. So I'll be quiet here for about a minute in order for you to really envision this and to feel it in your body, see it in your mind. Think of the thoughts and the quality of the thoughts. Feel it in your body. Okay, as always, if you need more time, you can keep going. But for those of you who are with me now, if you can, when you're ready, flutter your eyes open. Welcome back. And now is the time to write down your intention. You can have more than one. Write them down on a piece of paper. You can place them in your altar for 2 weeks until the new moon, until the Gemini full moon on December 7th, and then you can burn them then. You can actually write them down and burn them on this new moon in Sagittarius, which happens at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, or you can even do it the day after. It's really what is calling to you. Listen to your intuition. But the key here is to write down your intentions, speak them out loud to Jupiter, to your guides. Believe that it's possible, because if you don't believe, then you cancel and you null everything that you've just done, the intention that you set. So if you're blocked at that point where you don't believe, that's when you go back and do some of the shadow work of why you don't believe. And that's why Scorpio season was so important, was to do that work. And now here you can set your intention, burn it, and release it to the universe, because this is a dark moon. You don't know how it's going to unfold. You don't know the signs and synchronicities that will come into your life, the opportunities, the people, the messages that will come into your path. That's where you have to be open in a way that you don't expect. Because if you expect it and you place a how and when, and place a timeline on the universe, then you're just recreating what you've already created. You want to create something new. Mars and Gemini, you want to decide something different. You want to have a change in your reality. So you have to surrender. You have to let go of how it comes in. And that's the hardest part, I believe, because we want to know and we want to control. And so when you feel yourself at any point after this, that you have fear, doubt, worry, or impatience. And impatience comes when you put a timeline on the universe, when you're like, why isn't it here? I wanted this to come on the full moon in Gemini. I wanted this to come by my 40th birthday. I wanted this to come at X, Y, and Z. You're placing a timeline on the universe, and that's not how this works. You have to fully surrender to the when, because then if you know, then you've already recreated something from your past. And that's not what we're all about here. We're creating from a place of love, anticipation, and fun. So I'm going to leave you with that. I really, really wish you nothing but your heart's desire. And remember that everything that you desire is already within you. It's already loaded and coded. You just have to activate it and remember. And belief and faith is so important during Sagittarius season. I'm sending you so much love. And it's 2/22 as I'm ending this on 11/22/22. The synchronicities are just all around. Love you so much. Bye.